This is J3 Performance. My name is Jared, and this is a new series called the Rugby League Body. In this series, I'm going to go through with you what it is that makes up an elite level rugby league athlete, what physical differences are there between them and your average person or your average athlete, and how we can actually train to achieve them. This first video is going to be what actually makes up a rugby league athlete at the top level. What physical differences are there compared to your average player or your average person, and why those physical differences exist, why it's important for what we're actually going to be doing as footy players who are trying to get better. So what an elite rugby league player actually looks like is probably something that you have in your mind already, but there are some things that you might not actually consider or think about. Elite rugby league players carry a significantly greater amount of lean muscle mass than most people do. Generally will have a leaner physique, so less excess body fat. And they're usually going to be relatively tall and have relatively broad shoulders or have some other physical attribute that's going to make them have a sense of physical dominance into contact. Now, when we break down the muscle groups and the areas of the physique that are different to your average person, some of the ones that do stand out are going to be, well, the upper body is generally going to be far bigger. You need a significant amount of armor effectively to play rugby league. There is a lot of collisions, so you're looking at big shoulders, big chest, big upper back, and the arms. Footy players are going to have big arms, yes. When it comes to the legs, oftentimes they will be significantly heavier than your average person because that is where the force comes from. You need to actually have the strength and the ability to produce force, and it's going to have to come from those legs. Otherwise, you're just not going to be fast enough, you're not going to be powerful enough into contact, whether that's with the ball or without it. So your average footy player is basically big and strong everywhere. So if we're looking at just actual physiques, they're tall, they're pretty wide, and they're lean enough to still be able to move that tall, wide figure rapidly around the football field. These guys are still going to need to have very rapid speed. You can't be playing footy at a high level if you are not fast, if you are not lean, and if you are not strong and have enough physical size to still win collisions. And this comes into why rugby league is one of the most physically demanding sports on the planet. There are sports that have greater speed, there are sports that have greater strength, and there are sports that have greater collisions. And then of course there are sports that involve greater fitness as well. But there's not many sports that have a greater combination of all of those things. Rugby league players need to be capable of being heavy enough to win physical contact and being fast enough to get away from physical contact if they need to, and then also being fit enough to repeatedly do all of those things over an 80-minute match. Some players lean a little bit more towards the fitness side, some lean more towards the strength side, and some sit right in the middle. In general, rugby league players need to be as large and muscular as they can be for their natural frame and abilities, while also remaining as lean as they can be within reason, so that they have the ability to move around rapidly and to move around repeatedly. And then they're also going to need to have elite conditioning so that they can actually do all of those things at a high enough intensity to win collisions. That's what rugby league is. It's winning races and it's winning collisions. It's an extremely physical game. So everyone in rugby league, if you're going to play at a high level, needs to be the best combination that you can be physically of large and muscular and lean and not carrying excess body fat. That's the physique. Generally, your shortest people probably aren't going to make it, and sometimes your really, really tall ones are going to struggle as well. Jordan Mailata is a good example. He's currently playing in the NFL. He came from rugby league, and his size is perfect for the NFL, but was probably a little bit too large to be able to maneuver around a rugby league field for the time that was needed. Absolutely damaging when he was on the field, but that man is an absolute physical behemoth and perfectly built for the higher intensity and contact that is going to come from the NFL. And when people compare sports and try and say this one's tougher, this one's stronger, every sport's different, but rugby league is that incredible ability to have, you need the best of all worlds basically. If you're really suffering in one spot in terms of your physical capabilities, you're going to get found out. So that's where rugby league is one of the most physically demanding games on the planet. It's because you are going through intense physical contact repeatedly, and it's a battle of wills against the other people, and it becomes a battle of biomechanics. It becomes who has the momentum to win that collision? Who has the momentum to win that contest? And then there's races. You have to run very fast. You have to run faster than the other guys a lot of the time. And then it's who can do that for the longest. It's no good being able to do it at the start and then suffer and lose the next 12 contests. Rugby league players need to be able to do everything physically for 80 minutes. So we can break it down into a few different qualities that a rugby league player needs. Strength. Strength is the ability to produce force. How much force can you produce? Then we can move that into power. Power is how much force can you produce and how rapidly. And the easiest way to consider power is producing a lot of force in a very short time period. Think about putting a palm on somebody. It's no good if you have the world's strongest single arm bench press. If it takes you 6 seconds to palm someone off instead of a split second, it's not going to work in a rugby league game. So that's power. Power is producing force very quickly. There's speed. Obviously speed, you need to run very fast. There's both top speed and acceleration. Those are different qualities, different abilities, and we'll cover those down the track in this series. Fitness, otherwise known as endurance, condition, there's all sorts of other names for it. That's the ability to do the thing over and over and over again. Again, we can break this down into lots of different subcategories. But fitness, as people know it, is the ability to go and go and go and do the task you need to do over and over again. If you're not fit at footy, you're not going to last. Mobility is another quality that rugby league players need. The difference between flexibility and mobility is that flexibility is simply how far a joint can move. Mobility is how far that joint can move under control. So it's no good being able to passively move your arm if someone else is bending it, but you need to be able to move that thing with strength and control through as big a range of motion as you can. That's going to enable you to make more plays and do more physical things on the football field and withstand the physical positions that you're going to be put in and have to put yourself in more often. So mobility is very important. It's not something that we have to absolutely chase to the detriment of everything else, but if you are lacking in mobility, it's probably going to start coming up and interfering with your speed, strength, or power at some point. One of the reasons that rugby league is such a physically demanding sport is that it's a culmination of all of your energy systems and strength and power abilities all at once. It's no good being able to just produce a 10-second effort like a 100-meter sprinter. It's no good being able to run for an hour like a half marathon runner. And it's no good being able to just do a really rapid 90-second effort like, say, a good 400-meter runner. I know good ones are faster than 90 seconds, but you get the point. Rugby league players need to be able to max out each of their energy systems and do that repeatedly. They can cover 8 to 15 kilometers in a game, and a lot of that is high intensity, high speed running. There's collisions in there with G-forces that would genuinely harm and potentially do worse to your average person. People see tackles that are normal in rugby league and they're just used to it because they see it on TV. But those things are traumatic events and players are going through 50, 60 of them every single game. The rugby league body is something that is going through physical stresses that people who haven't played the game can barely comprehend. And that's why training properly for rugby league is so important. If you don't get it right, if you go into a game at a high level underprepared, you are going to not only suffer performance-wise and not play well, but you're going to get hurt as well. You can't prevent every injury in a sport like this, but to do well at rugby league, you need to have a good rugby league body that's ready to go. And that's what this series is all about. We're going to go through all the individual components of what makes a rugby league body what it is and talk about how to improve them. In the comments, let me know what you actually want to learn about rugby league and I'll make sure that I can fit that in for you. All right, let's get after it.